moment. We'll invite
Economia. Taino ia kama tui tana hui mo Hawaii. Stay. Online. Bobby still trying to find Tēnā koutou katoa e te whānau e kōtika kua rawe mene mai tō parawi ka mai te tēnei shui o tūnaka no whakaungira o te kōtika. Good morning to whānau in the Far North for today's extraordinary council meeting. To formally open our meeting today, we do have a number of important kaupapa on the table, but a large delegation of whānau who are here to show their support for a notice of motion that we'll be considering today. Councillor Hauki Harawira has requested that our Te Reo interpreter, Kawati Wakeford, open us with a himene. Tēnā koe.
Aueihu tirohia arohai nai ora whakaitia ke au ki tō mapia I te wae ake ai, e nei ngaru kino nei, I te wae keri ai, e nei
Tēnā koe. A beautiful way to start this extraordinary council meeting. Thank you very much, Kawati. Before we get into our deputations, just by way of apologies, I'll move that we accept apologies from Councillor Felicity Foy, Councillor Anne Court, and Bay of Islands Whangaroa Community Board Chair Belinda Ward. I'd like to get a second. Thank you, Councillor Research. All those in favour?
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions? That's carried. Just acknowledging those who are in the room and a number of elected members who are joining us virtually today, because we do like agenda. Acknowledging you all, and I'm also aware that Councillor Steve Kelly has another engagement and is going to have to leave early if we go. So just if we could note that as well, please. By way of mayoral announcements, I acknowledge this announced Coco Transport Committee meeting, but I just really wanted to acknowledge the passing of one of our whānau legends, Northland legends, in Papa Sid Going, who was buried this week in Marumaku. What an extraordinary leader for us here in Northland, someone who brought so much pride to our region, to our province. So I just really wanted to formally acknowledge his passing. Te atua hoa atu ki aia, te oki ki ngā tonutanga, kia whiti ki aia, te maramata. May perpetual lights shine upon him, and may eternal rest be granted upon him. Amen. We'll go into our deputations today, and we have two deputations. Speaking to item 5.1, the notice of motion for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. I know that we caught up out at the front, but I really wanted to acknowledge all of you whānau showing your support to this motion and turning out today into our council chambers. Welcome to your council. And I know that it was a last minute call and you have all turned up. It just shows democracy in action, and I always appreciate having whānau attend our council meetings and showing their real drive for things that matter. So thank you very much for showing up today. Our first deputation will be from Debbie Abasaroi. Sorry, Debbie, I don't know how to say your last name properly. I'm happy to pass the time over to you to give your deputation. You're welcome to stand, to sit, to join the table, whatever makes you comfortable. According to our standing orders, you will have 5 minutes for your deputation, and then we have another deputation following yours. So, kei a koe te wā, pass the time over to you.
Good on you. Good on you. Today I wear white. In ordinary times, Palestinians bury their dead in white. This ritual of giving dignity to the dead has now gone. The dead are too many in Gaza, living too traumatised, weak with starvation, trapped under the rubble, or forced to flee, looking for safety that does not exist. The world is an intimate witness to all of this, daily, hourly, in real time. On our laptops, on phones held in our hands, and in news clips in our living rooms. We can witness 24/7, live, all of the sickening horror of countless children, mothers, fathers, whānau, entire communities being massacred before our eyes. Yet, it does not stop. Not even after 229 days. I feel daily a great sense of personal failure. Nothing I can do will be enough. I, like so many others who care deeply and powerless to assist whānau, anaka that I love, who suffer indescribably. Until 2 days ago, for weeks, I did not even know if my whānau were alive. They are trapped. I cannot get them out. They are starving. I cannot send food. I can do nothing but sit before this council and plead. Please call for a ceasefire. I cannot vow to achieve this. I live with the shame and guilt of my own comfort and safety every day, whilst they have no peace, no food or security at all. They ask me for nothing. If I enjoy a moment, I think of them and I feel ashamed that I am not doing enough. My favourite cousin has 4 children under the age of 9. He had a home that he was proud of. He is highly educated. He is an engineer. So many in Gaza are educated, highly educated. They are one of the most highly educated populations in the Middle East. We shared, my cousin and I, all of life's triumphs and milestones together. His graduation, his marriage, birth of his children, the pride when he was able to move into his own home. It's all gone now, lost so suddenly. Now he has nothing at all, not even the ability to feed his children. He, like more than 2 million others, spend long hours searching for water and something, anything to eat all day, every day. It is exhausting. He, like all parents in Gaza, his young children say, he is powerless to stop their screaming when a bomb explodes nearby. All 4 of his young children have nightmares when the loud buzzing of the surveillance drones stop long enough for them to sleep. They are deeply traumatised by all that they have seen. If they survive, this will scar the rest of their lives. But they are luckier than most. They still have all of their limbs. They are, at least for now, still alive and still together. To put the loss of Gaza's children into perspective, the number of children today killed in Gaza since October until today exceeds the entire student population enrolled in our primary and secondary schools here in the entire Far North District Council. That is every child between the ages of 5 and 18. That is every child in our own whānau, every child that we know. Children do not start wars, but they are always the ones that suffer the most. There are an estimated 17,000 Palestinian children who are unaccompanied, most likely orphaned. This is now so widespread that the aid agencies have created a new acronym, WCNSF, which stands for Wounded Child, No Surviving Family. 1,000 children are now amputees. No medical facilities exist to give the care that they need. Children in Gaza are traumatised. Imagine being a parent in this apocalyptic world. Soon there will be no life left in Gaza, or no Palestinian life at least. Palestinians are to be replaced by other people. These other people by a government who intend to take for themselves the abundant resources of oil and gas from the region and to build a new canal to transport it all. The Ben Gurion Canal, named after Israel's first Prime Minister, is the signature project of a new trade route. No life and no people should be eradicated for land, natural resources and a canal project. We have seen this throughout history, these same colonial forces at work. My own children's grandparents on both sides, Te Taha Māori and Te Taha Filistini, had the same lived experience. First came dispossession, enabled by institutional racist policies that forced them from their whenua into a poverty that they had never known before. All that they had was taken from them by settlers that came from afar. I implore you to vote in favour of Waikaika, Mayor Moko Te Pānia's motion before you today. Please join him in calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. I believe we're going to make an amendment and call for a permanent ceasefire now. There is precedence for this. Please join Te Kautahi, Waiheke, Whanganui in taking action and in speaking out against this awful injustice. He aha te mea nui o te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata.
After all, I had a young girl calling. Now with many hundreds more, and against all some will, he was found and shot and buried in mass grave. Oh, I the fear to Palestine, where every stray the olive trees must bloom. Our love was in the toil as we nurtured and sow. Now it's lonely in the fields of Palestine. Of the sadness to their toll, I heard a young gun calling. Nothing matters longer when you're free. When their tanks and guns and drums, they can't be down, but rolling stones. For Palestine, from river to the sea. No longer the appeal to Palestine. Sing the olive trees once through. Our love is in the toil, our feet are and so, our Sunday mountains, shattered walls, she washed the last body. The victim of Israeli's crime. Now she'll wait and hope and pray as she led to see the day He can breathe in peace and Palestine. Oh, Lord, in the peace. There is spring, the olive trees must bloom. Our Lord was in the toil as we dart and sow. Now it's only round the fields of Palestine. Oh, Lord, in the fields. Sky, where once again all people shall be free. United we'll all toil to restore our land and soil. When Zion is not lost to history.
The second deputation this morning, also speaking to our notice of motion for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. We stand held.
Kura koutou katoa, former for Dowling Pukuingua, and Brisbane, Papaka Maui aho. The land of the Yagara Nation is where I grew up, and I've been lucky enough to call Whirinaki my home, lived beside Hikatu for the last 12 years, with my husband, Patrick Land, and our 3 daughters. I'm really just here to tautoko Debbie, and just to bring to the table our petition that we've been gathering over the last couple of months. It's just been a paper petition, kanohi to kanohi. So the numbers aren't huge, but each week since October 7th, we've been on the streets of in Opononi by the Foursquare there, just being a presence to Palestine, witnessing for Palestine. And in that time, we've had one person who has been upset by our message, and they weren't from Northland, they were visiting the area. Otherwise, there's just been incredible support. And initially, straight after October 7th, it was a little bit nerve-wracking to go out there with this kaupapa, because we know that there's a lot of opinions about it historically, but we never, apart from that one incident, we've never had anyone who has felt or has at least spoken out against that. So I think we did the petition as a way to engage with people. I think there's a real hunger for people to have something that they can do. They're seeing this play out on the other side of the world, and they want to respond. And that's the kind of conversations that we've had when people have come forward to the petition. It's my understanding that New Zealand's extremely proud of its stance in ending South Africa's apartheid and the Springbok tour. And so I just can't understand why we don't want to be on that side of history again. Why we don't want to stand up for this exact thing. Like, why do we need to wait for the rest of the world to lead us? We can lead on this issue, and I'm sure history is going to show it up for what it is. And let's say we did something. 15,000 children have now, and counting, have been murdered. And I can't understand the confusion or the questions around it particularly. There's no question for me. Save the children. Every day that we wait, I believe that some of our own humanity is lost by not responding. The Palestinian poet Rafik Zaiga once was asked why do you Palestinians teach death and killing? And she responded with, we teach life. And that's what we want to do now for our tamariki, is teach life. So that's why we're here, to show our children that we don't agree with murder, we don't agree with genocide, and we can do something. And so this is what we're here to do, and we're just begging you, please, to speak out and call for a ceasefire. Some of our whānau have added an amendment to call to the motion to call that include calling on the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs to show their support. Just to add that on to the motion, that be something that is said and extends our message to all of Aotearoa. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia ora. He tangata, he tangata.
Mihi nui mō tēnei pēti hana e whakanui ana tō karanga kia otia ai te pakanga ki runga i ngā iwi me ngā whānui o Gaza, o Palestine, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
With that, whānau, we will move to item 5.1, the notice of motion for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. I'll just ask our staff to put the motion up because I will move it with a few additions. I'll move this motion worded that the Whānau District Council call for an immediate permanent humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Endorse a letter to be sent to the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs to show their support. Just want to check that reading.
I think on the letter, the amendment to call on the government so that we can widen the ways we lobby with them not restricted to a letter. I think it's on the letter we presented.
So they've just handed? Or
Oh, yes, in the green folder.
Sorry.
We'll get that typed up, and I believe councillor Halkiad Harawira will second them. Just as the mover, I'll just have a few opening commentary. So to you, councillor Halkiad Harawira. Just as mover to this way, unsurprising, I'm in favour of this motion that I brought to the table. But I've been incredibly privileged to be raised here in beautiful Northern and Aotearoa, New Zealand, and to be raised in an incredibly privileged whānau and loving whānau, with parents who are wealthy, who raised me where I've never been hungry in my life, where I've never wanted anything in my life that wasn't achievable, either by the grace of my own whānau or by having access to work to be able to get it myself. That privilege has led me to becoming the Mayor of the Far North. And I just acknowledge that the deputation today to show support for this atrocity that is happening on the other side of the world is something that I honestly can't fathom, because I don't have any sort of lived experience that I could call upon to try and imagine what millions of people are experiencing at this time right now. So I absolutely support this motion. This conflict is the world's fault, because the world set up this area of our planet to fail. The current conflict that we have right now, and I absolutely condemn Hamas for the first attacks, but I also absolutely condemn Israel for the ongoing attacks that they're doing to the general public in Gaza, the ongoing attacks on Palestinians that they have to experience. And it's not right. My grandmother brought me up by the values of tika, pono and aroha. What's right, what's true, and to always have empathy in the things that we do. So if this tiny, small gesture as Mayor of the Far North and as the Far North District Council can go in any way, shape or form to see an immediate permanent humanitarian ceasefire for this conflict, and if our small voice can show the leadership of our nation that they need to act, then by all means I'm going to do that and to support it. So I thank you all very much for attending. You articulated better than what I think anyone at this table could ever say, to show the absolute importance of ensuring that we do have voices in these spaces and we can use them. And so today's motion reflects that we do have a voice, and it's have the ability today, Council, to support and to be heard. So with that, I absolutely recommend this motion and ask Council to show support for it as well, so that we can do our part, as small as it is, to bring an end to this, and kia hohoi te to see peace, Gaza, and in this conflicted part of of our nation. I'll pass to Councillor Halkiad Harawira.
Tau toko marika au I o kōrero te kaheka. Just wanted to ask your speakers, and te kaheka, would it be okay to add and to call for international humanitarian aid to be delivered to the communities of Palestine, to be added to the motion? Because there are blockades at the moment. There are countries around the world trying to send medicines and food, but they're actually being blockaded. So I was just wondering if that could be a second part of the motion.
What I'll allow you to keep speaking if you want to come to that. What I intend to do, pending the resolution that is formed from this, if this passes, is to allow some flexibility in the wording of the letter that I'll write on behalf of the Whānau district, and to have that socialised, but that the intent that we will be put with the letter. So have that added as the mover and seconder, we can add that without amendment.
Thanks, Member. I'm probably going to upset everybody because I'm going to speak against this, and you'll see why. But I have to say, I really do support a ceasefire and humanitarian. But let me speak. The nation of Israel is part of the land that has been homeland for Jews for 3,000 years. The war began on October 7th last year. The terrorist group Hamas attacked civilians in Israel. That's one speech. Murdered men, women, children, and babies, committing unspeakable raping women in their homes, beheading some, some alive. Now that is recorded on their phones and put out there.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Just quiet. That is recorded on their phones and put out. They also took hostages to Gaza. Some already dead were paraded through the streets. Remember that young woman on our screens, the young German woman? And paraded through the streets of Gaza and killed their bones and some lives. Now, you can argue with that, and there's a point.
Those are all lies. Those have been proven.
I'll ask members of the public to show respect.
Yes.
Councillors have a right to speak.
They have a right to reiterate
You
lies.
have a right to oppose what is being said, but I'll ask you to be respectful and to allow the councillors.
Said I'd upset people. Said the cost them to 6 million would kill the lives as well. So, and why I can't support it is first, it's outside of the business of council. It's the domain of foreign policy, and it's a very complex issue, as you are seeing with people that's making these statements. I agree, it is extremely tragic, and that really makes my heart bleed when I see on the TV the death that's occurring there. The UN latest stats is 4,959 women killed and 7,797 children. Been revised downwards because they found an error that they were thinking. That's the UN's latest stats. They've been killed by bombs. There are 2 million people or thereabouts act in a very tiny strip, and they've been bombed, I agree, as Israel tries to get its hostages back. And that is tragic, I agree. It's absolutely tragic. But what are we asking Israel to do? Not get its hostages back? If you were a mother and your child, and they see what was done, and held the hostage in the depth somewhere, what would you think? We ask this of no other nation. Number 3, nor does it solve anything, as it is currently worded. A Hamas leader and others have vowed to repeat October 7 again and again and again until all Israelis are exterminated. That's the wording that was used. It is recorded, that's the wording used. And that's what they say. This is genocide on Jews. Israel is also fighting a war with Hezbollah, which fired 75 rockets at Israel just a few days ago. So then I say, well, why are we actually doing this? Because there's a better solution, and it's a foreign one that needs to be involved. So why are you doing it? It appears to me that we are being caught up in emotion, and we all are, I am as well, and essentially putting out a signal. That's all I see that we actually do. And okay, that might be fine. But by who? Because we are being pressurised by a high number of people protesting all around the world. Mobs, like. Why I say that chose that word is deliberate, because I see this history as well. And I'm one that will stand up, probably my dying breath necessary, but I'll stand up and say I will not be driven by mobs that actually, without doing critical thinking and seeing the whole picture.
You insulting prick.
I do listen, by the way. I've heard what you've said, and I did my research, probably more than most.
I'll take you on any of your.
Yeah, I'll speak to you after.
Yeah, let him.
So,
Sorry, councillor Vusic, just members of the public. I appreciate that this is a highly emotive type. And it is hard to hear, but if anyone speaks out again, I will ask you to leave.
Thank you. So we that it called through Europe, we burnt women at the stake. The women are victims again, burnt at the stake because the mob said that. They actually crucified Christ for the same reason. I would actually prefer an alternative motion. So are we courageous enough as leaders to call for Hamas to immediately release all hostages and lay down the arms, and Israel, in response, ceasefire on Gaza? Will we do that? Because I'll put that up as an alternative motion. I'll put it out there. That is for Hamas to immediately release all hostages, laying down the arms, ceasefire in other words, and Israel doing the same. If we did that, then there's probably more chance of getting peace.
Thank you for the councillor Vusic. I've got some responses there, but I'll save it for my right of reply.
I'm definitely in favour of a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and a resolution. Immediately halt the, loss of civilian lives. And I don't feel it's our job here to debate what has happened. We just want to play a role in speaking up to get the conflict on both sides to stop. I just, acknowledge I've got friends that have family on both sides that are missing. And Hamas is not part of either of those sides. So we're being asked to be leaders because we're seen as a council of influence. And I believe speaking up could make an impact. So that's why I'm happy to support the motion wholeheartedly, but in response to the possibility of councillor Vusic foreshadowing an amendment, had been contacted by people with the same line of thinking of his. So I wondered, as well as Hilda's addition, if we added a line to the motion that we condemn all acts of violence and terror against civilians on both sides of the conflict and immediate return of hostages, if that would be appropriate. I could foreshadow that one, but
I'm happy to. What probably would have been helpful to my notice of motion is if I had included Mayor Nick Smith of Nelson City's letter that he sent to the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, which has that exact reading, which I intended to use as the template for our own letter. So irrespective of whether or not it's in the motion, I would be looking as Mayor Stefano to include that reading. So I'm happy for it to be included if that's what you require to.
Yes. It might help Councillor Vusic if we add that.
Yeah, I want to be bold and say full from Hamas to the release hostages. If it says that, I'll be really pleased.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Halkett, how do we have a second of this motion? I'm happy to have it included so we don't have to.
Which one?
Just putting it up on.
Deputy Mayor Shepherd, could you just verbalise that again?
I kia ora kia koe, John. I get that, but yeah, I like that wording.
It's the condemnation of all acts of violence and terror against civilians on both sides of the conflict and immediate return of hostages. And I don't know if you feel that undermines what you're trying to achieve, and you can't speak to us during our debate time, sorry, but we voices for everyone, despite there being lots of confusion and misinformation and disinformation out there. I want to make sure that I'm covering off all feelings in this.
Nakahira Rakina.
Ai, tēnā koe te kahika. O tira, tēnā tātou katoa, e noho mai nei, ki roto i tō tātou whare kaunihira. I raro i te tāhuhu o tō tātou nei whare, i roto i te whare o rongo, kawa i roto i ngā ringa me te whare tū te ihi, tū te wana. Tū hakaputai, te whai au ki te ao marama, aui e hui e tāra. E tautoko ana ngā mihi, ki te hunga mate, a rātou mā, o wehe atu i te ao kiko nei, a rātou mā, o ki atu rā, i te huarahi, o te hunga wairua, o ki atu rā, ki o koutou tini mātua, ki o koutou tini tupuna, ko reira koutou, oki, ake tonu atu. Ei āpiti atu ki e rā mihi, e kore ware, ki ngā hoia, i wehe atu, i o rātou whenua, i o rātou whānau, i ngā pakanga o te ao, ko tāpu e kōrero nei, e ope o te 28. I ngā whānau, haere, ki Itaria, ki Monte Cassino, i te tuku, i tō rātou aroha, i te reo haka maumahara ki ngā hoia o te 21. A rātou mā i hinga atu, i whenua ke atu, a rātou mā i hinga atu ki te ringo aitua, aitu kikini, aitu tāmaki. A rātou ngā tini tūpuna e takoto ana ki whenua ke atu. A hakua ko rātou e takoto ātinana ki e rā whenua. O rātou wairua ko hoki atu ki te kāinga tūturu. O rātou mahi ka mautonu ki te whatu manawa. O rātou mahi ka noho ki te pai o maumahara ake tonu atu. Ko ngā kōrero o te hunga mate kia rātou mā, ko ngā kōrero o te hunga ora kia tātou mā, tēnā rā tātou katoa. E tātou mā, kia huri ake au, ki te reo Pākehā. Today we gather in a shared responsibility and shared hope to address an urgent and pressing issue that demands our attention, the ongoing conflict in Gaza. As representatives of our communities, it is incumbent upon us to speak out to advocate for peace and an urgent call for our Far North District Council to support an immediate ceasefire. The situation in Gaza is not just a distant conflict, which is why I speak and mention of our tupuna who went overseas to fight for us. Some who returned, a lot of those who didn't. It is a humanitarian crisis that affects us all. It is a crisis of human suffering, of families torn apart, of homes destroyed, and of lives lost. It is a crisis that demands our moral leadership and our collective action. Supporting a ceasefire is not just the right thing to do, it is necessary. It is a necessary thing to do. It is a call for shared humanity, for our shared humanity, a call to stand for justice and peace, and a call to protect the innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. It is a call to uphold principles of international law, to defend the rights of all people to live safely and security. We cannot afford to stand idly while innocent civilians' lives are lost and people continue to suffer. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye to the cries of children who have lost their parents and of parents who have lost their tamariki, and of communities torn apart by violence and destruction. We must act, and we must act now. By supporting a ceasefire, we send a powerful and clear message to the world that we stand on the side of peace, and we stand on the side of justice, and we stand on the side of humanity. We send a message to the Far North District that it is our commitment to promoting peace and security, not just within Te Tai Tokiro or Aotearoa, but to a global community. Our commitment to peace does not end with the ceasefire. We must also work tirelessly to address the root causes of conflict, to promote dialogue and reconciliation, to build a future where all can live in dignity and freedom. We must support efforts to rebuild Gaza, to provide humanitarian assistance, as mentioned by my colleagues, to those in need, and to create opportunities for economic and social development whilst living in safety. Supporting a ceasefire is not just about ending the immediate violence, it is about laying the groundwork for lasting peace for our tamariki and our mokopuna. It's about building trust and understanding between communities, about cultivating cooperation and collaboration, and about creating a world where conflict is resolved through wānanga and negotiation, not through violence and war. As members of the Far North District, we have a responsibility, as mentioned, to our communities and to our world. We have a responsibility to stand up for what is right, to do better, to speak out against injustices, war, and to work together to build a better future for all. We have the power to make a difference, although we are a small piece of our universe. And we must use that power to support a ceasefire. In conclusion, hei whakakapi, I urge each and every one of you to join me in supporting the motion that the Far North District Council called to support a ceasefire in Gaza. Let us send a clear message of hope, solidarity to the people who continue to suffer, and to let us work together to build a world where peace and justice prevail. Tūko tahi, kōkiri tahi, stand in unity, move as one. Kia ora mai tātou.
Tēnā koe kaikauni hera nākina. I'll now put the motion.
Kahika.
Tēnā kaikauni hera kapa.
Ko kōrero ke ngā kōrero a Councillor Rakena, kono tāku nei tautoko. Tautoko I rungo I te whakaaro I haere mai tēnei pepa kia tātou kia tirohia, kia mutu te whawhai tuatahi. Tāku nei e tautoko ana kia ceasefire unconditionally. Angohia ngā heretanga kei runga I ngā kōrero, engari tirohia kia mutu te ceasefire iaia pū. Ko rongo ke tātou I ngā kōrero a Councillor Rakena, we cannot afford. Pāmā mo tātou ki te tuku era momo kōrero I te mea kei konei tātou. E nohona I roto o tātou kāinga. Ka aroha mō ngā tini iwi e whawhai nei, nā, ko Gaza, kei roto Russia, kei te katoa. Engari tēnei he humane mahi. Himatai kona, ka hoki mai ki kona. Ka mutu, ka tahi anō, ka tīmata te haupo o te rongo. Nā, ko tēnā te kōrero I tuku mai e Councillor Rakena. E kore taia te hohau te rongo, e nā ka tīmata ki te patapata I runga I ngā taha I mua te mutu o te whawhai. Nō reira, taku tautoko pūmau, kia mutu te whawhai iaia pū. Tēnā tātukatu.
I'll ask the motion to be displayed. I'll go right and reply because you all said it for me. So, the Far North District Council call for an immediate permanent humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza. Call on the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs to show their support and call for peace, call for immediate international aid to be allowed into Gaza, condemn all acts of violence and terror against civilians on both sides of the conflict, and call for the immediate return of hostages. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
I'll abstain. I'd like to see a letter written. I think I can see that.
Thank you. Abstention from Councillor Vucic, and happy to have a catch up with you following
Thank you.
Councillor Vucic. And the motion is carried. I will call Whānau just 5-minute adjournment. Just so that whānau who are here, who are only here for this, have time to leave without shuffling or anything like that. If we could please pause our live stream.
Can you confirm the live stream is paused, please?
And
Hey,
Could a Harley and Tucker presenting our live stream for us? We will now move to item 5.2, a notice of motion for Matty Wards. Moved by, actually, because it's a notice of motion, we can be happy to second it from Councillor Visich.
No, it was a notice of motion, yes.
And thank you for the seconding. To be honest, I don't think that I needed to bring this as a notice of motion for council sign off, and the letter was as mayor of the whānau, so that council wouldn't get stuck with having to go through procedure before being able to sign this letter. But I wanted to give it the extra weight of this council to show our support for local government New Zealand's leadership in this space. It's been really great to see that there have been 50 mayors and chairs who have already signed this letter, including the two co-chairs of the Te Maruata Roku Haka Haere Committee of Local Government New Zealand. The letter is attached. I think there was a story, an exclusive story on One News last night. And it really just highlighted that there's real strength in numbers as a sector. So putting this up and take everything as read, appreciate the ability to put things in, as bilingual reports so I can then use it in the classroom. Pass over to Councillor Visich.
Māori Wards, well, I support it. Māori Wards have actually been quite good for us. They're given a good spread of governance and on council across the district. And I think better representation as a result. Yes, what more can I say? So I support it.
Now, would you like to speak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go to Councillor Radich, then Councillor Halkiar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all know, the coalition government, which involves ACT First, New Zealand First and National, are quite determined to see our Māori seats out of council. It's pretty simple to work that one out. Their belief is people are to be elected on merit rather than special wards based on race. And it's quite sad to for government like that to make those statements. I fully support what John Visich had just said. They have been a credit to our council, and but at the end of the day, it's going to be council that's going to force us to put up a poll or referendum, and that'll be the end of it, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to say that Chambers microphone.
I think it's the speaker. Go fill up my cup. Is everybody muted? That's it.
Through the chair, I think it's a microphone.
Now Harley.
We're on mute.
Thank you, and thank you to Councillor Vardich. You can pass over to Councillor Haukia.
Ai tēnā tātou. Just tautoko au tēnei mōtini and e tino harikoa au te rongo ngā kōrero John Research me Mate Radic e tino tautoko ana tēnei hoki. Kau he tino taimaha tēnei kaupapa I rungi I a hau and tēnā pē kei runga ngā mema Wāri Māori. Yeah, mai te wā ka tīmata, and I just want to thank the council staff member who sort of walked us through the representation review, and then this certainly came up by surprise, by stealth in April the 4th. And I just want to, thank all of those iwi and hapu in Aotearoa that advocated for the Māori ward seats prior to them becoming introduced. And I also I want to tuku taku aroha hoki ki ngā mema Māori I rongo I te kaunihira. And I just want to say this. Moko and Kelly Stratford were voted by the general public and to be representatives of the whole community, and I commend Moko because I think he's a strategic thinker that requires the backup of staff to achieve certain goals, and I commend Kelly Stratford for all of the background stuff that she does to make sure the little things are ticking over. And so the 4 Māori ward councillors are really come to represent some of the whakaaro of our communities that aren't heard. That in the scheme of things, people don't mean to do it, but it just means things get pushed to the side. Really happy to see Te Kahu o Taone involved with us in He Kua. Māori things will not get resolved unless we agree to deal with it. And we have to have structures inside the council. With the ward councillors must come te hono, must come the mechanisms inside the Local Government Act that are already there. So, you know, none of this will happen just on having 4 Māori sitting in seats. We've got to have mechanisms within the council to address inequities and to make sure that, you know, we're getting a series of things over the line. So, yeah, tino podio, the other day I was on last 2 days I've been very taumaha over this take because the thing I don't like about the polls, I like to know something. If I'm nominated to be something for 3 years, I will work my butt off, whether I'm paid or I'm not paid, to achieve whatever has to be achieved. What I dislike about the polls is that it's only asked of Māori ward councillors. There is an election every 3 years. But the other thing is that we could have a poll every week. We could have a poll every week asking, you know, you could just have sort of an element within the community who doesn't like Māori things coming up every week on under a new guise. So that would be stressful to me, and I don't think I would like to operate. I couldn't operate like that. People either have to give me their endorsement, and I get it that we may have different opinions and we can agree to differ. But I couldn't have somebody, I couldn't put up with the sense that somebody was going to poll our actions every week for 52 weeks. That would just wear us down and waste a lot of money and time and staff time. So I sort of wanted to put that out there, and I also put forward to staff, because I only know Gaza through her being a singer in 1814. I only know her name like that, but she talked about how we as councillors can have tautoko, and somebody suggested a miri-miri, somebody suggested a something. I said, actually, no, that if I want a miri-miri, I'll go to a time message. That's all good. These Māori ones, they're too hard. My whakaaro is I had to actually leave a meeting the other day to go to a waiata practice at A&T. That helped fill me up again. And yesterday I was thinking about, I should have gone to a hui with Te Runanga or Te Rarawa. It doesn't matter all the scraps we have. Pai ake te noi I waingere te rarua. But anyway, I'm just saying, because our men may not talk about it, but I was highly stressed. But, you know, today I'm good. Today I'm good, happy to see what's happened with Palestine. And we bring good value, I think, to this table. And I just wanted to say that maybe some people say, oh, there's 6 Maoris out there and, you know, it over-dominates. But Moko and Kelly's job is to represent the whole community, our role, which I think that we are over 50% of the population in the north. You know, there's stats that say we're 43% from 2018, but actually we're more, because in Te Hiku we've got 85% of the school children. I did the data analysis myself, all Māori in Te Hiku. So hoi nāno tira, just hey, whakamarangatanga. Somebody said yesterday there was a kōrero, and I couldn't listen because I didn't have the papers, was what are the 10 risks to the council? And somebody said central government policy, and I went, there you go, tautoko. Amahi.
We will put the vote. Like to speak. We have had 4 in a row in favour, but because I know this is one important to you, Councillor Rakina, I will allow it. Where you go.
Tēnā koe te kai ka. Because I've chewed up enough of everyone's time this morning, I won't chew off any more of the pie. Engari, ka tahi kārua, ka timata au ki ngā kupu I puta I a te Waihoro I Shortland. I tōna tū ki te tautoko I te mōtini, ki haka tui ngā wāri Māori I te tau 2021. Hei ko tāna, kia maia, kia mahia, ngā mahi I runga I te ngākau pono. I'll start by regurgitating the words uttered by Te Waihoroi Shortland at the 2021 council meeting when the motion was brought back to the last council to establish Māori words. His words were, have courage to make the right decision, and that's why I implore onto my fellow colleagues today. I've written a little bit of a kōrero, but I'll just cut straight to the chase. I support this motion. I also want to make mention as well that this will add an extra burden of costs upon our ratepayers to the sum of or between $5,000 to $10,000. A cost that is not necessary to put back on our communities who are already suffering through a cost of living crisis. So think to yourselves, with everything going on in our world, do I really want to spend my money on unnecessary resourcing? Māori ward councillors are voted in by Māori role constituents, but represent all constituents in the whānau district. Think about it. When Māori ward councillors argue, fight, go overtime for better roading, for better water, for better housing, for better outcomes, we don't fight, argue just for Māori. We fight for the roads that everyone travels on. We fight for the water that everyone drinks from, that everyone uses. We fight for the housing for everyone. So me ata hakaro. If this, it looks like it's coming back in the 2025 elections and will be implemented in the 2028 elections, think about it, e wama. Think about the contribution that Māori ward councillors have had, the deep impact, the positive impact that Māori ward councillors have had in our district in just such a very, very short time. I support Māori wards, I support the motion and the right for Māori to be represented in local government, and I oppose any attempts to undermine or dilute our voices. Kia ora mai tātou.
Tēnā koe whakauru e Rawakina. I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed or abstentions, the motion is carried. Thank you very much. I will now move a motion to exclude the public from the next part of our meeting. Thank you very much for staying. Thank you.
Thank you for your tautoko. Kia ora.
The motion is to exclude the public for point one, Ōtaue Dam funding commitment,
Media in the room.
and 6.2 is transportation services provision. As part of this motion, I'll currently make our council titular and also Rob Cruzel and our engineer contact to be present for this big part of
Oh, okay.
If I can get a second, please. Councillor Vucic. All those in favour? Those opposed? Abstention, and that is carried. Thank you, Peter. Kia ora koutou, always great to have you in chambers.
Come visit our
Yeah.
We're on blue papers today. We must have run out of time.
It's been amazing.
Oh, yes, please, if you could pause out. Thank you and welcome back to our council meeting. In the public excluded section of this meeting, we consider 2 items. The Otawere Dam funding commitment for Taitokiro Water Trust and also a transportation services review decision. For the time being, while negotiations are underway, those will stay in the public exclusion. However, once that is done, we will release it in due course. With that, I will, as Interpreter Wakeford opened us with himine, I might ask him to close us with karakia. Interpreter Wakeford.
Mana mai te putanga o te riki, mana mai te putanga o te taurau, te tauira, kai ke rongo rupe, kai ke rangi tā rua ki te puna o te whatuara. Tēnei te whatukai ia, kai te kaina te Māori, te whiarangi, kai te whiawaho, kai te rawa mai mo. Tēnei te Māori o te wānanga ka whakapiki, ka whakakake. Te Māori o tēnei whare, te Māori o tēnei kai kaunihira, te Māori o te kōtiu, te tai whakarunga, te tai whakararo, tēnei te Māori ka whakarewa, ka whakapiki. Tūturu whakamaua kia tīna.
Tēnā, thank you and thank you for today's meeting.